Good morning, friends. It's about 4:15 here in northern New Jersey. It's a Friday, and the weather's having a hard time. But still, I'm wearing sunglasses, dark sunglasses indoors, because the future still looking bright. What do I mean by that? I essentially, as most of you who are also David Lynch fans watching right now are feeling a great loss with his passing, a lot of what David Lynch would talk about, a lot of what his art stood for, a lot of the themes that he liked to play around with and express through his multitude of mediums of art is transcendence. And although David, as a living human being, has passed on, he still lives on through all of us who are fans of his films, fans of his philosophy, fans of his personality. And so I would like to propose that David Lynch hasn't really passed on, and that through the dream, as the dreamer that we're living, we call reality life. Through what he created and put out into the universe, he inspired countless people to go on and make films of their own, or maybe it's just inspired art, different types of art. I, being a musician, am definitely inspired by David's work. And what I find the most fascinating about his work is the elements of transcendence and dreams, and also what's beyond the veil, right? Like every single film that I've seen by David Lynch has had that same element of like, here is what's happening on the surface, but underneath the surface there's a deeper level of truth, and the truth is usually darker and there's more pain to it, and this dreamy, idealistic version of reality that we initially have going into any of the films is not the true reality. And just to use one of my favorites, Twin Peaks, the show, the movie, pretty much all of it, we're given pain and loss right up front with the death of Laura Palmer, and how that affects everyone, every character in the show's lives moving forward. And as the simple mystery of who killed Laura Palmer unfolds, and I won't spoil the show, because if you haven't seen the show, you should see the show. It's really good. But as the mystery unfolds, deeper mysteries and truths come out. The owls are not what they seem. And it's so fascinating being on a spiritual journey of my own and being an art, like my own artist, to resonate with that in my own way, and to see that as a hint towards what's beyond the film or what's beyond the show, what's beyond what's being shown. And I think that was always, at least in my interpretation, what was always the point of David Lynch's work, is what's beyond the work. And I personally believe a lot of what he created was created to be engaged with. A specific emotion in every scene was created to be felt and unpacked by the viewer. And as a musician, I couldn't relate to that more, because everything that I create is meant to be unpacked on a deeper level, from the lyrics to the song structure to the melodies to the key of the song, the tempo, the feel of it, how it's making you feel. I think is always the point of art, and was definitely the point of David Lynch's art. How does it make you feel? And then engaging with that feeling. I think it's fun, so I'm not going to say you shouldn't do this, but I think it's a bit of a mistake to try to come to some objective truth with any of his films, or Twin Peaks, or any of these pieces of work. And the real thing to take away from it is how it made you feel, and why, and how you can relate to it. Is that not the point of art in general? A lot of people that I know that are fans of David Lynch are sharing very inspirational quotes that he said. And this is why, I'm reminded of how inspiring of a creative he's been throughout his life, and that he's still continuing to be after. And I think that that's my whole point to making this video, is to not just share David's impact on me and what my interpretations are of any of his works are, but to also, in a way, share that infinite ocean of consciousness that David, you, me, and everyone else is a part of, is always there. And that's where ideas come from. It's much like David's philosophy of catching the big fish. What idea are you going to get and then curate? Much like preparing a dish, a fish. The chef is not credited with creating the fish, but preparing the dish. And that is our responsibility as creatives, is to catch and prepare that fish. And something that I really resonated with the most with David is his point of view on suffering. And for those of you who listen to my music and have watched any of my morning talks before, will know that that's my whole thing. I'm all about the healing process, about pain alchemy, about suffering with grace. And that's what David's transcendental meditation and philosophy was all about. It was about, instead of making our personalities the suffering, instead of fully identifying with the pain, expressing the pain in a different way, alchemizing it out of our being, so we do not become the suffering artist. We are not meant to live in suffering. We are meant to live with suffering because it's a part of the human condition, but it is not our purpose. It is not our true and only reality. We are meant to be happy. We are meant to be the full spectrum of the human experience. But pain and suffering and sadness is very sticky. And that's why it's so important for us to alchemize our pain, our suffering somehow, to get it out through some sort of expressive and creative way. And I love how David Lynch would talk about Van Gogh, who was a known suffering artist. It wasn't because of his suffering that his art was so great. In fact, the creating of his art might have been the only thing in his life that brought him happiness and joy when he wasn't suffering. So it's not, and this is something that one of my favorite musicians, Jeff Tweedy, also shares this perspective. It's not because of the suffering, but in spite of the suffering that good art exists. Because anyone that is truly suffering, that is truly depressed, like I've been, like a lot of you have been, I'm sure, when you're really depressed, you don't want to leave your bed. You don't have the motivation to create anything. You don't have the motivation to go out and communicate with anyone, to try, because it feels pointless. So it's in spite of that darkness that good art exists. And that's something that I definitely resonate with the most. But with that said, I have some quinoa cooking, so I must go now. But thank you all for listening, and I hope you have a good day. And remember that the future is still looking bright for all of us.